She rinsed her sinuses the way she had 100 times before. Warm water, a little squeeze bottle, the kind you buy in any pharmacy in America. Tap water. Clean, clear, safe. Nothing about it looked like the last mistake she would ever make. 4 days later, she was in a hospital bed, and the doctors standing around her had no idea what was eating its way through her brain. Because something was, right then, moving. And by the time anyone in that building understood what it was already far too late to stop it. So how does ordinary tap water, water that had already come out of a treatment plant, water that was completely safe to drink, end a healthy woman's life in 7 days? And why couldn't a single doctor in America save her? Stay with me, because the answer is going to change how you think about the water in your own home. It starts, like most of these stories start, with something completely normal, a headache. She thought it was a sinus infection. She'd had a stuffy nose, a little pressure behind the eyes, and the rinse was supposed to help. That's the whole reason people use those bottles, to flush the sinuses out, to breathe easier. Millions do it. Your grandmother probably does it. But her headache didn't fade. It got worse. It moved from a dull ache to a pounding, and then to something that painkillers wouldn't touch at all. Her neck started to stiffen. She felt sick to her stomach. And when the fever came, the people around her assumed the obvious. She'd caught something, a bad flu. Meningitis, maybe. That's what it looked like. That's exactly what it looked like. And that resemblance? That's the first reason she was already in danger. Because what she actually had was so rare that most doctors will go an entire career without ever seeing it once. So when she arrived at the hospital with a headache, a fever, and a stiff neck, every instinct in that emergency room pointed toward the common thing, the treatable thing. Nobody's first thought, nobody's 10th thought, is that a living organism has crawled up through the nose and into the brain. But that's precisely what had happened. So what exactly was in that water? Since it was first identified, only a tiny number of Americans have ever been infected by it, a few each year at most, and yet almost every single one of them died. Doctors call it one of the deadliest organisms on Earth, and almost nobody has ever heard of it. Its name is Naegleria fowleri. It's not a bacteria and it's not a virus. It's an amoeba, a single-celled organism, smaller than a grain of dust, that lives quietly in warm, fresh water all over the world. Lakes, rivers, hot springs, warm ponds. It has been on this planet minding its own business for longer than we have. And here's the part that makes people stop breathing for a second when they first hear it. If you drink water with this amoeba in it, you're fine. Your stomach acid destroys it instantly. You could swallow a whole glass of it and nothing would happen. It is completely harmless to swallow. The only way it becomes a killer is if it goes up your nose. So how did clean, treated tap water end up carrying something this dangerous? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Tap water in America is treated to be safe to drink. That's the standard, safe to swallow. And for drinking, it works. The levels of chlorine, the treatment, all of it is built around the assumption that water goes into your mouth and down. Nobody designed the system around the idea of water being pushed, warm and slow, up into your nasal passages and held there. And in rare situations, especially in warm plumbing, in water heaters sitting warm in a garage, in pipes where water sits stagnant and warm, this amoeba can survive inside a household's own system. Not enough to hurt you if you drink it, not even close, but enough if that water goes up your nose, into the one place your body left a door open. Because at the very top of your nasal cavity, there is a thin sheet of bone riddled with tiny holes. Nerves pass through those holes, the nerves that let you smell. And that thin, perforated bone is the only thing standing between your nasal passage and your brain. The amoeba finds those holes. It follows the smell nerve, and it walks straight up into the brain through a door evolution never expected anything to use. So once it's inside, what does it actually do? It starts to feed on brain tissue. That's not a metaphor, and it's not an exaggeration for a thumbnail. This organism consumes the cells of the human brain directly, and as it does, the brain begins to swell inside the fixed, sealed box of the skull. There is nowhere for that swelling to go. The pressure climbs. And that is why the symptoms escalate so fast. The headache that won't stop, the confusion, the hallucinations, the seizures. It isn't an infection making you feel unwell. It is your brain being eaten and crushed at the same time. And the speed of it is the cruelest part. From the first headache to the end is often just 5 to 7 days. Some people go faster than that. There is barely time to be diagnosed, let alone saved. So with all of modern American medicine, the scans, the specialists, the drugs, why couldn't they stop it? 2 reasons. And the first one is time. By the moment a doctor even suspects this amoeba, the patient is usually already deep into the infection. Remember, it looks like meningitis. So the first days, the only days when anything might work, are spent treating the wrong thing. The clock that mattered ran out before anyone knew a clock was running. And the second reason is worse. Even when doctors do catch it, even when they name it correctly and reach for the one drug that has ever shown promise against it, that drug barely gets there. The medicine exists. There is a compound originally developed for a completely different disease that can kill this amoeba in a laboratory dish. But a laboratory dish is not a living human brain, swollen and under siege, behind a barrier that keeps most drugs out. Getting enough of it to the amoeba, fast enough, before the brain is destroyed, that is the wall no one has reliably climbed. That is why, of all the people known to have caught this infection in the United States, you can count the survivors on your hands. The fatality rate is above 97%. Not for a rare cancer, not for a new virus, for an amoeba that lives in warm water and asks only that you get it up your nose. So does that mean the water in your house is dangerous? And is there anything you can actually do? Yes, and this is the part I need you to hear, because it's the part that could genuinely matter one day. The infection is terrifying, but it is also rare, and it is almost entirely preventable, because it comes down to one rule. Never put unboiled tap water up your nose. That's it. If you use a sinus rinse, a neti pot, a nasal wash of any kind, you do not use tap water straight from the faucet. You use water that has been boiled and cooled, or distilled water, or sterile water from a bottle. Drinking tap water is fine. Cooking with it is fine. Showering, washing, all of it, fine. The danger is one specific act. Warm, untreated water pushed up into the nose. Take that one act off the table, and you have taken away almost the entire risk. She didn't know that rule. Almost nobody had told her. The bottle didn't warn her clearly enough. The water looked perfectly clean, and she was only trying to clear a stuffy nose. 7 days after she filled that little squeeze bottle from her own kitchen tap, a woman who had done nothing reckless, nothing strange, nothing that millions of people don't do every single week, was gone. And the doctors who fought for her never had a real chance, because the enemy had a head start measured in days and a hiding place no medicine could reach in time. The water in your home is almost certainly safe, but now you know the one thing it was never designed to do. And you know the one rule that the woman in this story was never given the chance to follow. This has been Pharma Archive, true stories from the hidden history of medicine, told for education and understanding, not as medical advice. And somewhere out there, someone you know is rinsing their sinuses tonight with tap water and has no idea. So share this with anyone who uses a neti pot or a sinus rinse. It costs you nothing, and it could genuinely save a life.